Welcome to Dependable Flame, where we explore vintage petrol lighters, ashtrays, tobacciana, and other useful mechanisms. Make yourself at home. Today we have a really interesting cylindrical threaded snuffer petrol lighter. Now this lighter came with a group of aluminum block lighters, and it is certainly possible that this is an aluminum block petrol lighter. The tone of the metal though is a little grayish, and I think that there is a good possibility that this is some other alloy, perhaps Zamac, which we have talked about on the live stream Vintage Coffee and Lighters Live. Zamac is a similar alloy to aluminum, and I think it actually contains aluminum, but it also contains zinc and magnesium and maybe some other metals as well. I can't remember exactly. I was ignorant of it before it was brought up on the live stream. Now, Zamac is also known as monkey metal. It is what Hot Wheels cars are made out of. I'm sure a lot of other toys as well. And apparently it's also the material that KitchenAid mixers are made of. So whether or not this is an aluminum block petrol lighter or Zamac, monkey metal, or some other obscure alloy, it is a very functional lighter that I would think, even with the absence of any seals, gaskets, or O-rings, which you don't see any here on the bottom threads, which that amounts to your fill screw there, or sealing off the snuffer. There is no O-ring. So we'll have to see exactly how this lighter does as far as fuel efficiency goes. It's kind of a no frills, not a lot going on here. We do have some knurling on the base, which could be helpful when removing that from the body of the lighter. And the same thing with the snuffer. Got this sort of twisted knurl going on up there at the top. Looks identical to what you have down there on the bottom. I don't know what would happen if we would try to polish this as well. I did recently purchase a tub of Mother's mag and aluminum polish, so maybe I'll give that a shot and just see whether or not this will shine up. That grayish tint definitely gives it a little bit different look. Fairly uniform. It does have some blemishes, some corrosion, other marks, but I do not see any rust or any corrosion of that type. It's more of the scaly type looking corrosion like you see with aluminum and some of the other alloy metals. We take the fill cap off and examine the wadding here. You can see the wadding looks a little bit stale, maybe a little bit discolored and contaminated, but it's packed in there fairly tight. See a little bit of rust color. That could have come from the spring, the screw. But I don't believe that that rust came from the base metal that the lighter is machined from. Very deep threads on there nice and tight. And we'll just see here. Like I said, I have no idea how this little lighter will hold up as far as fuel economy. And I know that several people, with the absence of any O-ring, gasket, or seal, would say that it's not going to hold fuel very well at all, but we'll see. I think it'll hold fuel better than you think, just because it is sealed off so nice and tight. And you all know how I feel about O-rings, gaskets. I don't feel like that is the most important part of the function of a lighter or even the fuel economy of most lighters. So we'll just see how well this particular Petrol lighter, as rudimentary and elementary as it may be, basically just a wheel and a wick with a snuffer that threads down over the top of that. There's not a whole lot to it. But when you need to light up, there's not a whole lot you need either. You just need a flame. And one that you can depend on, one that's going to be reliable, one that's not going to wear out your hands striking it. This particular lighter is not marked as far as I can see. So it's got the nice machine knurling. Nice tight threads, a wick that looks like it has probably seen better days. So we'll see, depending on what kind of use we put this thing through and whether it's one that I end up throwing in my pocket and taking with me at times, and we may end up re-wicking it. Just as a default for the lighters that I end up selling, I try not to replace the wicks. I try to keep them as original as I can. And then if I do replace the wick, then I bag them up and send them off with it. But if I'm going to use it, then I don't really need to worry so much about what a potential buyer might think about that old lighter having a brand new wick in it. So that may be the next project, depending on how this thing holds fuel as I use it here around the headquarters. And we'll just see whether or not we go ahead and re-wick it. I think if I do replace the wick, simply because it's so tight up here, I will probably replace it with a copper woven Zippo type wick so that it stays in place and out of the way of the threads when you're trying to snuff the flame. So that's just my 2 cents and our first look here at, well, I'm not sure that it is an aluminum lighter. It is a block lighter of some kind, and very well could be aluminum. So whether it is an aluminum block lighter, monkey metal, or some other alloy, it is a very functional, hopefully efficient and dependable lighter. Until next time.